Hola y bienvenidos a Squeezing Matrix. En este primer episodio vamos a ver un caso que recientemente ha causado polémica entre quienes reclamaban justicia por lo ocurrido y quienes pedían clemencia debido a su atractivo físico. Su carácter os va a recordar al de otros tantos asesinos.
Well, Mr. Wilson, you have an opportunity, just like during any of the other phases of. Well, let me just finish real quick. Any other phases during the case, if you want to address the court, I would permit you to do that. Obviously, everything's recorded, but you would have that opportunity if you wish. No one can prevent you from addressing the court if you wish to, and no one can make you address the court if you don't want to. So it is a decision that's solely left up to you if you want to address the court or not.
Not today. Later, when I come back, I will. Today,
Okay.
No, I won't.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Y con esta interrupción al juez se hizo aún más reconocido en los medios de comunicación. Seguramente hayas oído hablar de él. Su nombre es Wade Steven Wilson. Su cambio de aspecto le ha hecho ganar mucha popularidad y su nombre, el cual comparte con el protagonista de Marvel, ha hecho que sea apodado como el asesino de Deadpool de Florida. En menos de 24 horas, Wade realizó una pequeña masacre. He aquí lo ocurrido. Una tarde del 6 de octubre de 2019, Wade salió con su novia Melissa a tomar unas copas a un bar de la zona, en Fort Myers, Florida. Fueron al Buda Bar y estuvieron allí hasta que Wade y sus amigos decidieron ir a tomar drogas a casa de uno de ellos. Ante la negativa de Melissa de dejar el local, Wade fue al parking y cogió el coche de esta, un Dodge Hellcat gris, para irse con sus amigos dejándola allí tirada. A la mañana siguiente, Wade quedó con Melissa en el aparcamiento de su trabajo y vivienda temporal, Mila Spa, para hablar sobre la noche anterior. Allí Wade intentó obligarla a subir en el coche en el que iba, un Nissan Versa negro, pero Melissa se resiste y sale del coche para agredirla y obligarla. Al ver que la gente comenzó a grabar la escena y a llamar a la policía, Wade abandonó el lugar.
My boyfriend beat me up right in front of this spa.
Okay, for what reason?
I stayed the night at my girlfriend's last night, and he called me like over and over. He left me at the bar. I came back, and he tried to get me in the car, and I know once I got in the car I wouldn't ever see tomorrow. So I'm fighting it with all everything that I have and putting on the railings. He's dragging me through the fucking parking lot. He punched me straight in the nose. I have a loose tooth and
Do you need EMS?
No, I'm fine. Nothing is hurt that won't heal. I'm
Okay.
fine.
Do you want to press charges?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tras reportar el incidente a la policía, comienza la búsqueda de Wade, mientras Melissa va a testificar a la comisaría.
He's only been out for 5 days, and this already happened to me again. So,
Okay. Now Wade
Wade Steven Wilson.
Steven Wilson.
5/20/94.
How do you know Wade? How long have you known Wade?
Boyfriend 6 months.
Boyfriend 6 months.
He's been in jail, incarcerated 3.5 of those.
Here in Lee County?
He beat me up, and I put him in jail here, and then I didn't want to go through the court, so I dropped the charges, but he had a charge on West Palm for second-degree felony stolen property.
So he had a warrant out for that arrest?
He didn't have a warrant, but his bond was revoked when he had picked up a charge here.
Okay.
Además, la policía comenzó a investigar la procedencia del coche que Wade conducía durante el ataque, así como la procedencia de las llamadas que Melissa había recibido por parte de este. Por suerte, Melissa pudo dar testimonio de lo ocurrido durante el juicio.
I went to the driver's side window. He wrote it down. I said, "Where are my keys? Where's my car?" He was calm and just saying, get in the car, and it escalated quickly.
Did you agree to get in the car?
No.
And when you would not agree to get in the car, how did he act?
Violent, aggressive, tried to pull me in the car physically, and I resisted, got plank style so that he could not grab me into the vehicle. Pulling dress, probably a little hair, everything, and then the dress starts to rip off of my body.
And what happens after that?
Once he realizes that the threads were becoming, I was getting away from him and he was still holding onto the dress, he opens the car door, obviously forgets to put it in park. The car starts to roll forward. He tackles me to the ground. The car grazes both of our legs, and I'm pummeled to the ground.
How hard did he push you to the ground?
I'm sorry, I don't recall. This is also fast, and he's very heavy, and I'm 5'2", he's 6'6", so.
Now, what happens after you are pushed to the ground?
I start to get beat.
Okay. Describe what you mean when you say he was beating you.
It all went so fast and so slow, whether it be punches, slapping, choking, that kind of nature. Yes.
Now, you mentioned that the fight is happening around the car. Does the fight move at some point?
Yes, so I either get dragged, pulled, can't remember, by my hair, arm, or dress, to I'm trying to reason with him, trying to talk to him, but there's nobody behind those eyes anymore. So there was no reasoning with him.
Melissa relató lo ocurrido con todo detalle. Dijo que Wade había perdido la cordura, el cual alegó como atenuante haber estado bajo la influencia de las drogas. Al poco rato de la agresión, fue localizado en un parking cercano donde habían ocurrido los hechos.
How you doing? What's going on, man? You're waiting on your girlfriend? Oh, okay. That's no problem. No, I got a call. Somebody was sitting in their car and everything like that. So.
No. We don't meet a spot. She's coming.
Oh, okay. She's on her way now?
Yeah, we don't meet a spot right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We were going to go to Jersey.
Okay.
Allí, la policía trató de hablar con él y entretenerlo mientras llegaban refuerzos para su detención. Wade calmadamente se negó a salir del coche diciendo que él no había hecho nada malo y que solo había sido una discusión de pareja. Tras la negativa de la policía a dejarlo marchar, Wade, con total tranquilidad, puso el coche en marcha y sin vacilar un segundo se escapó del lugar.
I have to detain you. By our procedures, I have to detain you. Because of the battery this morning. There wasn't any battery? Okay. I will. No. Just relax. Let me see the keys to the car. Let me see the keys to the car. Keys. Keys. Wait, we're not going to have any problems. Just give me the keys to the car. Wade.
Sir, I didn't do anything. Look at me.
Okay. All right. Please. Just wait till my partner gets here. L41, gonna need a couple more units. Don't go anywhere. Hey.
De alguna manera, Wade consiguió esquivar a la policía y buscar refugio, por lo que la policía comenzaría a recibir llamadas alertando sobre su localización no muy lejos de donde todo había comenzado, en Cape Coral, Florida.
I have a very unstable man that's, I guess, wanted at my office. Hancock Bridge Parkway. He's got tattoos, he's short-lived, he's killed some people, and he just hurt a girl. The gentleman's name is Wade something. I have no idea. I went back to my office, my business there, and he was there. He was a cordial friend of a friend associate. He just did something bad, I guess, and was running from somebody, but I need to get him out of my place. And he's saying he's done all these crazy things to somebody and has a stolen car there. It's very odd. Very, very odd.
Y a las pocas horas lograron capturarlo sin ofrecer resistencia. Se había estado escondiendo en una casa en la que se había colado y que encontraron con la colaboración de su padre. Pues Wade lo había llamado varias veces para pedir ayuda y contar todo lo ocurrido.
Now, did he end up calling you later that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you in that call that evening?
The final call?
Nope, the call the call before the final call?
He just told me, you know, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer. You know, I just told him to call me back. I just thought it was another story, you know.
So at this point, when he says that there were 2 people that wouldn't be with us and that he was a killer, did you put a lot of weight into that?
No, ma'am.
Did you think he was just telling you a story?
He's a good storyteller.
So did he then call you back a 3rd time?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he call you back?
It was around 10 o'clock.
I want to go back to that dinner time call. When he talked about these 2 people who were no longer with us and that he was a killer, did he show any type of remorse?
No, ma'am.
So let's go now to the 10 o'clock call. Again, your wife knew about kind of what was going on during that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he called back at 10, did he go into more details about what he had told you earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start with the first girl. If you could tell the jurors, what did he tell you?
He just said he met a girl at a bar. They went back to her house, hung out for a little bit, and then she fell asleep.
What did he say happened after she fell asleep?
He said he got on top of her and choked her.
What name did he call her? Did he refer to her in a derogatory term?
He said, I choked that bitch.
Okay. And what did he say he did after he choked her?
He said he stayed in the house for a little while, and then he rolled her up and was going to try to put her in her trunk, but he couldn't lift her.
Did he say why he was unable to put her in her trunk?
He said that he felt like rigor mortis had started to set in.
And does rigor mortis make your body stiff? You didn't know?
I think so. Yeah.
So he just told you that that was the reason that he couldn't lift her and get her into her trunk?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he said her trunk, it was the trunk of her car he was going to put her in?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did he tell you he did when he couldn't get her body into her own trunk?
He left her there and took her car.
What did he say about the second girl?
He said he saw her walking down the street and stopped and asked her for directions. And she got in the car with him.
What did he say happened once she got in the car with him?
He said he reached over and choked her.
And did he tell you that he choked her while he was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what did he say happened after he choked her?
He said he was looking for a place to put her body.
Did he find a place where he eventually dumped her body?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you about the situation when he got to the place where he was going to dump her body?
He said that he pulled her out of the car and realized that she was still breathing.
So what did he tell you he did when he realized she's still breathing?
He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti.
Now, the whole time that he's telling you these details, is your wife hearing any of these details?
I had the phone on speakerphone.
Now, prior to him telling you these details, how did you feel about turning him in to law enforcement?
I initially wanted to help him.
Okay. Did you feel conflicted about giving him over to law enforcement initially?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point when you're talking with him, did that feeling change?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I just thought, you know, what if that was my mom or my daughter or sister or wife? I would want somebody to do that.
And did you have additional concerns of what might happen if you didn't turn him into law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that, sir?
He would have done it again.
Now, after he's telling you all these details, do you know where he's at when he's telling you these things?
I just knew he was in a house that he broke into when he was running from the police.
Did you know the actual address of this house he broke into?
No, ma'am.
Now, when you were talking to him and you decided that you needed to give the information to law enforcement about his whereabouts, how did you get that address from him?
I told him I was going to send him an Uber and I needed the address.
Y de esta manera fue detenido. Tras una carrera de menos de 24 horas, llena de homicidios, agresiones, robos y huidas de la policía que no acabarían ahí, pues intentó volver a escapar otra vez ya dentro en prisión junto con otro recluso. Rompieron una ventana y consiguieron salir, aunque fueron apresados poco después. Wade jamás mostró arrepentimiento o buena conducta, y por ello la defensa solo pudo tratar de alegar problemas mentales derivados de previos accidentes y caídas, sumado al consumo continuo de drogas, para así poder evitar la pena capital.
There are two basic conclusions. One, with the ventricular asymmetry. Ventricular asymmetry can be a normal finding, but in the setting of psychiatric disease, it indicates cognitive and emotional dysfunction.
How does that manifest itself in somebody's conduct?
It's going to cause worse behavior. It's going to cause less thinking. It's going to cause less likely to modify your own behavior, basically.
Okay. What was the other one? You said there were two.
Evidence of some brain injury. The atrophy of his superior anterior temporal lobes as well as his frontal lobes is an important combination. When you have atrophy of your amygdala, which is one of your main points of your limbic system, it creates for emotional instability. It makes you more likely to get mad and not be able to calm yourself down. The frontal lobe impairments cause one to be more likely to be impulsive and act without regard to consequence, act without plan, more likely to be irritated and agitated, and the frontal lobe is also important for stopping behavior arising out of your temporal lobe.
That you had the opportunity to review that were taken on August 21st of 2024, isn't that right?
That's correct.
All right. Matter of fact, the MRI scans also revealed that there was a unremarkable conventional brain MRI examined without contrast. Do you agree with that assessment, sir?
From a perspective of major disease, stroke, MS, anything you look at, yeah, it looks normal.
Matter of fact, the findings in the MRI scans were that the ventricles are normal in size and position without evidence for hydrocephalus.
There is no hydrocephalus. In fact, the ventricles are relatively small, indicating that he may have increased intracranial pressure.
And then we also find that the fourth ventricle is midline and no shift is noted, right?
Yeah, that's brainstem. That's fine. Okay. These findings are likely predating 2019, probably sometime after he was a teenager.
El intento por parte de la defensa para eludir la pena capital no se sostuvo, pues no existían pruebas concluyentes y fue fácil para la acusación rebatir el argumento.
And so based on that, do you believe there's anything significant?
No, and I'll tell you further why, right? So if you had asymmetry in the ventricles, or let's say, for instance, he also described that there was an abnormality in the size of the ventricles, that they were actually more narrow or smaller. They're not. This is actually appropriate in size. And he suggested that because of that, there's probably due to increased intracranial pressure. But that doesn't happen in isolation. Increased intracranial pressure is going to cause fluid from the ventricles as well as fluid from the vascular space to spill out into the actual brain tissue, and that's going to cause abnormalities in the CSF pattern as well as it's going to cause hyperintensities around vessels. You see none of that here in this actual scan whatsoever. Not to mention, increased intracranial pressure is going to push the brain parenchyma out. The brain is trapped in the skull. That's nowhere to go. So if you increase pressure inside that skull, the brain's going to be pushed outward and downward. And you see no evidence of that at all here. You don't see any evidence. You see the normal sulsation right here or the normal folds of the brain. You have no evidence of that increased intracranial pressure. More importantly, like I said, there's no overt evidence of abnormality in ventricle size, and that matches what the radiologist saw on both the CAT scan and the MRI.
Así, la acusación concluyó que no existían anomalías en su cerebro lo suficientemente relevantes al caso.
I would call this a structurally normal adult brain, and I wouldn't be concerned about anything significant to chase after.
Por otro lado, los abogados de Wilson trataron de buscar indulgencia a través de la pena, alegando que una vez recibiera la pena capital no se podría volver atrás, y que no solo se le castigaría a él quitándole la vida, sino también a sus seres queridos. El tribunal recordó que habían 2 mujeres que ya habían perdido sus vidas a manos de Wilson, y que ya no se podía deshacer lo ocurrido, por lo cual él debía pagar acorde a los crímenes cometidos. Increíblemente, Wade tenía un largo historial de delincuencia que incluía estafa, robo, tráfico de drogas y agresión, y cuando los hechos ocurrieron se encontraba en libertad provisional. No mucho tiempo atrás ya fue denunciado por otra exnovia a la que atacó, pero desestimaron los cargos por falta de testigos aun teniendo pruebas físicas. Con todo ello, la acusación rebatió que no sufría ninguna anomalía que le pudiera llevar a cometer esas atrocidades, pues acabó con 2 mujeres e intentó secuestrar a otra en menos de 24 horas. Tras varias semanas de juicio y tan solo un par de horas de deliberaciones por parte del jurado, Wade recibió su sentencia. El 23 de julio de 2024, el juez estuvo de acuerdo con el jurado y aclaró que dicha pena no era desorbitada para los delitos cometidos. Y así dictó sentencia.
In the state of Florida versus Stephen Wade Wilson. The court has further considered the giving great weight to the advisory verdict of the jury, who recommended that the death penalty be imposed by a vote of 9-3 on count 1 for the murder of Christine Melton and a vote of 10-2 on count 4 for the murder of Diane Ruiz. The court recognizes that there is no mathematical formula for considering the aggravating and mitigating factors. It is not enough to weigh the number of aggravators against the number of mitigators. The court carefully considered the nature and quality of each aggravator and mitigator. Having reviewed all of the aggravating factors proven beyond a reasonable doubt and all of the mitigating circumstances reasonably established by the evidence, the court finds that the aggravating factors greatly outweigh mitigating circumstances. Given the facts of the case, nothing in defendant's background or mental state would suggest that a death sentence is inappropriate. This court's review of other reported capital cases has led the court to conclude that the death penalty is not disproportionate in this case. Under the totality of the circumstances and evidence, the court finds no basis to override the jury's verdict. The totality of the circumstances warrants that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced to death for each count of first-degree murder. Accordingly, it is ordered and adjudged that the defendant, Wade Stephen Wilson, be sentenced as follows. Count 1, first-degree murder of Christine Melton. The defendant is hereby sentenced to death. Count 2, grand theft of a motor vehicle. The defendant is sentenced to 5 years imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections. Count 3, battery. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 364 days in the Lee County Jail. Count 4, first-degree murder of Diane Ruiz. The defendant is hereby sentenced to death. Count 5, the burglary of a dwelling. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 15 years imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections. Count 6, petty theft. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 364 days in the Lee County Jail. The defendant is given credit for all time served on this case on all counts. All counts are to run concurrent with each other, meaning at the same time. All statutorily mandated fines, fees, and costs as announced on the record are imposed, and the defendant is committed to the custody of the Department of Corrections for execution of this sentence as provided by law.
La defensa falló en su intento de evitar la pena capital, pues su sentencia es irrevocable, aunque los abogados de Wade aún siguen intentando revocarla, y la fecha de ejecución será pronto publicada al haber cumplido ya la mayor parte de su condena. Con este veredicto se trató de hacer justicia para estas mujeres, Christine Melton y Diana Ruiz, asegurándose de que Wade jamás vuelva a usar su sonrisa para hacer daño a otra mujer.